Oh.
If you're working on any experiments, please clean up after yourself.
And, return the books. Okay, yeah, right, so I gotta return them to the orc. I forgot his name. Shagraba. What is his name? Ah, Yurag Groshab. Huh, okay. Okay, well, I should take a look at these books. I think this was one of them, right? Yeah. On Arterium by Tars Il Silma. The Isle of Arteum, okay. The Isle of Arteum is the third largest island in the Somerset archipelago, located south of the Moridunan village on Patansa and west of the mainland village of Runsibai. It is best known for being home to the Sigic Order. Oh, really? Perhaps the oldest monastic group in Tamriel. The earliest written record of Sigics is from the 20th year of the First Era and tells the tale of the renowned Breton sage and author Vornet traveling to the Isle of Arteum to meet with Lachesis, the right master of the Sigics. Even then, the Sigics were counselors of kings and Propronics of the Elder Way, taught to them by the original race that inhabited Tamriel. The Elder Way is a philosophy of meditation and study said to bind the forces of nature to the individual will. It differs from Magicka in origin, but the effects are much the same. The Sigics of Kings and proponents of the Elder Way taught to them. The Elder Way, okay, it's different from Magicka, huh? Is a philosophy of meditation and studies said to bind the forces of nature to the individual will. It differs from Magicka in origin, but the effects are, wow. That said, it is perhaps more than coincidence that the Isle of Arteum literally vanished from the shores of Somerset at the beginning of the Second Era, at about the time of the founding of the Mages Guild in Tamriel. Various historians and scholars have published theories about this, but perhaps none but Lacheus and his own could shed light on the matter. 500 years passed and Arteum returned. The Sigics on the isle consisted of persons, mostly elves, who had disappeared and were presumed dead in the Second Era. They could not or would not offer any explanation for Arteum's whereabouts during that time, or the fate of Lacheus and the original Council of Arteum. Currently the Sigics are led by the Lore Master Celarus, who has presided over the Council of Arteum for the last 250 years. The Council's influence in Tamrielan politics is tidal. The kings of Somerset, particularly those of Moridunan, have sought the Sigic's opinion. Emperor Uriel V was much influenced by the council in the early, most glorious parts of his reign, before his disastrous attack on Akavir. It has even been suggested that the fleet of King Orgum of Yandonia was destroyed by a joint effort of Emperor Antichosis and the Sigic Order. The last four emperors, Uriel VI, Morahatha, Pelagius IV, and Uriel VII, have been suspicious of the Sigics enough to refuse ambassadors from the Isle of Arteum within the imperial city. The Isle of Arteum is difficult to chart geographically. It is said that it shifts continuously either at random or by decree of the council. Visitors to the island are so rare as to be almost unheard of. Anyone desirous of a meeting with the Sijic may find contracts in Patansa and Runcibai, as well as many of the kingdoms of Somerset. Were it more accessible, Artaeum would be a favorite destination for travelers. I've been to the Isle once and still dream of its idyllic orchards and clear pastures, its still and silent lagoons, its misty woodlands, wow, and unique Sijic architecture that seems to be as natural as its surroundings as well as wondrous in its own right. The Sappara Tower in particular I would study, for it is a relic from a civilization that predates the High Elves by several hundred years and is still used in certain rites by the Sijics. Perhaps one day I might return. Note, the author is currently on the Isle of Artaeum by gracious consent of Master Sargenius of the Council of Artaeum. Oh wow, okay. It's very interesting. I think this is another one. No, these aren't very long, so. Night of Tears, Drenor Seleth. Saarthal holds a prominent place in Skyrim history, even if most do not remember it by name. It is, of course, the site of one of the first major Nord settlements, one of the first cities of men in Skyrim, and the earliest known capital of their civilization. And Saarthal, as you very well know, is that excavation site that we, like our first assignment, that Tolthur sent us on. And the earliest known capital, okay, it was also the site of terrible bloodshed when the elves attempted to drive the Nords out of Skyrim to succeed only in incurring their wrath in the form of Ysgramar and his fabled 500 companions, who swept the elves from Skyrim and firmly established it as the home of the Nords. All this is known, but little else. What happened on the Night of Tears, when Saarthal was razed to the ground? What provoked... this is making sense now. What provoked the elves to such a deliberate, vicious attack? And what prompted such a severe response from the Nords? Vingalmo's treatise on the Altmer antecedent suggests that the elves of the Merethic era, along with their counterparts, the early Dwemer, possessed a degree of sophistication unparalleled in Tamriel. They displayed power beyond what could be expected of the time. While a distinct explanation is not given for this, I believe that this work, compared with the early writings of Hesef Carirnus, suggests that something greater was at work on that night in Saarthal. The true motives behind the Night of Tears have been obscured to us by the passage of time, but I believe this was not a simple war of territory or of control of Skyrim. I believe that what happened was a significant event based around something very particular. The Nords found something when they built their city. Must be that orb, right? Buried deep in the ground. They attempted to keep it buried, but the elves learned of it and coveted it for themselves. Thus they assaulted Saarthal, the goal not to drive the Nords out, but to secure this power for themselves. I believe Ysgramar knew something of what the elves would find under Saarthal and rallied together his people to keep the elves from gaining it. Oh. When Nords once again controlled Skyrim, this power was buried deep below the earth and sealed away. Time has kept this knowledge from us, but it is my hope that time will also reveal the truth of these words. Every effort will be made to relocate Saarthal and find that which has been lost. So it looks like even the, Ysgramir himself tried to keep this thing away from his people, secure this power. I believe Ysgramir. Yeah. Okay. So even Ysgramir, just kind of like one of the leaders of this Nord group was trying to keep it from them. What was it? Nord. Hold on here. I'm not understanding one thing. Skyrim to succeed only in incurring their wrath in the form of Ysgramir and his fabled 500 companions. These are the Nords out of Skyrim. Okay. There's also the sight of terrible bloodshed when the elves attempted to drive the Nords out of Skyrim to succeed only in incurring their wrath in the form, so Ysgramir, he's like some kind of Nord leader. But he was trying to keep that even away from not only from the elves but from his people. And is this the other book? Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
I don't want to see you treating any of these books poorly. Oh.
No, sorry about that. I didn't mean to drop that book over there. Sorry about that, sir. Okay, it's this one. The Last King of the Alliads. Okay. The Alliads, or Heartland High Elves, ruled, and you'll notice a lot of, you'll see a lot of Alliad ruins in Oblivion, in Cyrodiil, ruled Cyrodiil in the long ages of myth, before the beginning of recorded history. One of the earliest recorded dates, in fact, is the fall of White Gold Tower in 1E 243, which is commonly assumed to mark the end of the Alliads. Okay, although Alliad rule over all the Cyrodiil was indeed broken in 1E 243, this was only one of the most obvious stages near the end of a long decline. The first 2 centuries of the First Era saw increasing strife between the great Alliad lords of Cyrodiil. Alicia appears to have taken advantage of a period of civil war to launch her uprising. Imperial historians have traditionally attributed her victory to intervention from Skyrim, but it appears that she had at least as much help from the rebel Alliad lords during the siege of White Gold Tower. The popular image of the Alliads as brutal slave masters is based in fact. Of course, it is less well known that a number of Alliad princes continued to rule parts of Cyrodiil after 263. As vassals of the new Empress of Cyrodiil, this suggests either that Alliad rule was not universally detested, or that Alicia and her successors were more pragmatic than it's traditionally believed, or perhaps some of both. Okay. So, she could be, I guess, this pragmatic, I guess, cruel, I guess, or she could not, or she may not, or maybe a little bit of both is what it's saying. In any event, excavations at a number of Alliad sites show continued occupation and even expansion during the so-called Late Alliad period, 1E 243 to C 498. At first, many Alliad lords continued to rule as vassals of the new human regime. In some cases, Alliad supporters of Alicia were even rewarded with some lands taken from slain enemies. It is not clear to what extent human slavery continued under the Cyrodiilic Empire. Humans continued to dwell in the Alliad-ruled areas of Cyrodiil, but there is nothing definitive to show under what terms. Even Morrowind had, slavery in there. If you remember, at the Damasa dungeon, there were Khajiits and Argonian slaves in shackles, which I do want to get back to that, but I'm having a hard time locating the save files, so unfortunately it's looking as if I may have to start that over. This was an uneasy relationship from the beginning and was not destined to last long. Resentment at the continued presence of Alliad nobles within the empire was a contributing factor to the rise of the so-called Elysian Order, founded by Marok. The first victims of the Elysians were the Alliads of Cyrodiil. In the early 300s, the surviving Alliad communities in human-ruled areas were obliterated by one, the refugees temporarily swelling the power of the remaining Alliad lordships. Then in 361, Elysians gained control of the empire and enforced the Elysian doctrines throughout its domain. The Eliad lordships were abolished. Enforcement of this decree does not appear to have required much direct violence. It seems that by this point the balance of power was overwhelmingly against them, and their fate so long foreshadowed, that most of the remaining Aliads simply left Cyrodiil, eventually being absorbed into the elven populations of Valenwood and High Rock. Valenwood, where the Wood Elves dwell, and High Rock, where the Bretons live. Indeed, the rise of the Reni hegemony may be linked to this exodus of Aliads from Cyrodiil. A connection so far little studied by historians. Still, a remnant Aliad population seems to have survived the rule of the Elysians, because we hear of the last king of the Aliads joining the Battle of Glanumbria. Moors where I know Glanumbra from, I don't know if that's a typo there, but Glanumbra from Elder Scrolls Online. Moors where the Renis decisively defeated the Elysians in 482. How this king's people survived the preceding century is unknown. We do not even know who they were, although recent research points to Minalata as the possible resting place of this last king. Unfortunately, in the current state of the empire, funds are no longer available for proper scientific investigation of such extensive ruins. So the answer to these questions will have to be left to future generations. Okay. Whoops. Okay, Urag.
Hundreds of years have gone into assembling this collection. It's going to stay
found,
pristine, understand?
Yeah, and I found Orthorn and the books.
Well, and you seem to be in one piece. Thank you. I'll look these over and inform Mirabelle if I find anything relevant. Night of Tears, eh? I remember this one. Well, isn't that interesting? Did you read it yourself?
I did.
If I recall it correctly, that has some interesting implications. You should mention that to Toldir. And here. I suppose you've earned these.
Ah. Oh, very cool. Thank you. It's given me some skill books in return. I like that. Oh, yeah. Really nice. Oh. Oh, a lot of books in return. These will all make excellent reads. Yeah, and the Night of Tears, I believe that's the one that talked about the that orb that was found in Sarthal. Okay, well, see you later. Thank you.
I'm right behind you. How can I serve you, my Thane?
Great. Great.
Let's get going then.
Ah, Finis. Hi.
There are few places where one can pursue my type of work without fear of persecution.
What have you
Take
got?
a look.
Okay, so you still don't have Conjure Storm Atronach, huh? Well, you know what? Maybe you can teach me a bit about conjuration so I can get my skill up.
I'll teach you some of what I know, but be careful.
Ooh. It's expensive. Yeah, no, sorry. Yeah, what's this about some missing apprentices?
Ah, that, yes. The group prior to yours has disappeared entirely. It's possible that there was less than the necessary amount of oversight. That's still being looked into. But we've had no contact with them for quite some time now. Arniel wondered if perhaps they'd somehow managed to get themselves lost in the Outer Realms. But I think that's giving them too much credit.
How long have they been missing?
I hadn't really considered it in terms of time. I suppose it's been at least a month.
Okay, that's kind of a long
Let
time.
me think. What were they working on? As I recall, Ysra was trying to improve flame cloak spells to better work in Skyrim's harsh environment. Elos Tai was practicing illusion spells. She was having trouble with the calm spells, I believe, but only ever worked with skeevers. And then there's Borvir and Rundi, twins, though they rarely agreed on anything. Those two boys were obsessed with mead, convinced they could concoct something to compete with Honningbrew. Something about using frost magic to chill the mead for a certain period of time. I felt it was a waste, but the Archmage let them proceed.
Are there many conjurers out there, outside of the college?
Not within society, no. Many who practice within the School of Conjuration do so on their own, secretly. Falion is the only one I know who is public about what he does. He was once my teacher here, but left the college years ago.
Mm-hmm. Okay, see ya.
All right, then.
I'm having a hard time hearing the dialogue here, so I'm going to raise it just by a little bit. I get the feeling that the effects are kind of low. There, that might be better. Okay, see ya. And let's see.
There are few places where one can pursue my type of work without fear of persecution.
Let's go to
Enchanting services are one of the few things that keep us...
go to an enchanting table so I can disenchant.
The local